Well, looks like the welder's making a little noise for us tonight. So we got a lot of this done last night. Tonight I just want to get it put together, kind of see how far we can get. I'd like to get a good weld on it and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to see if we can stick some rod here and have all kinds of fun. So that's more how I weld when all the stars align. and I slow down, take my time, think it through, try to keep my finger out of the lens. And I tried RK Stewart, one of our viewers here, he's been one of our viewers for a while, recommended I tip the rod up a lot more, get a little more vertical, and I tell you what a difference. That has made all the difference. And I'm actually getting my flux floating to the top now, and I don't have to bang the hell out of it to get it off of there. It just kind of flakes right off easy. So thank you, RK, for the welding tip. Alright, well, we are getting much closer to having this fire pot done. Should hopefully maybe tomorrow night we will have it pretty well finished. And then after that we have good weather this weekend, so we're going to be back to timber framing, hopefully in full swing of it, working on the last couple top plates, trying to get more stood up. Of course, I always say we're going to get all this stuff done, and then enough hours in the day, or the lack thereof, gets me every time. But so what we've got right now, I'll kind of give you a little overview. So we have our fire pot. This thing is a pretty big fire pot as far as a forge goes. It is, what'd I say? It's 14 inches on top here, and it's like 12 inches over here. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it's 12 inches outside to outside. So, and it is 5 inches deep. Of course, we're going on a slant there, so it's a little not quite as accurate, but it's pretty well 5 inches deep on this. And right here we're starting, now this is what makes this replaceable, because this part isn't so hard to build. And when we're in a main shop, and I actually have some better things set up and some actual workstations, it's going to be a lot easier to do. So this piece of angle right here, we're going to have a piece of angle all the way around this thing, and it's going to be flat in line with the top. We'll take a grinder and smooth all this off, because I don't want all my coal and everything getting caught. It's going to be bad enough it'll catch on this lip. But the whole idea here is we get this all the way around, and then it's going to set inside of a tabletop. And what we're going to do, I've said it before, we're going to do brick around this thing, but this guy right here is going to sit in the tabletop. Now, I've had a lot of questions, not a lot, but a few questions. Am I going to put refractory in here? I am not. I'll change you up again here. I've had quite a few questions on if I'm going to line this with refractory, and I'm not going to. I did a lot of reading, a lot of browsing, a lot of perusing on some of the forums, and I've seen where a lot of guys have made their fire pots for their forges out of 1/2-inch mild steel, and it's held up very well for many, many years. That being said, you know, chances are someday down the road, if I use this enough, and I'm hoping to be using it quite a bit, see, between this and the gas forge, I should be set up to do just about any kind of heating of metal I want to do. The gas forge has its place because I can heat some pretty big pieces in there. I really like the heat I get off of coal. I like it a lot. It's just kind of a neat feeling when you're forging with coal. I don't know if it's just an old time thing, but there are some health things you really have to watch for. Now, a lot of you who have watched this channel for a while, you look and see the things I do. I don't wear gloves when I work, and I really should be. I mean, I end up with scars all over my hands from burns and things like that, but that's one of those things, folks, where I'm just, if I can't feel what I'm doing, I don't do a very good job with it. I never have. 20, 30 below zero outside a lot of times. I'm working on stuff without gloves on, and that's kind of stupid, but there again, if I can't feel the tools I'm working with, it's just no good. Especially when I work on a lot of stuff that's like 480 volt, 3-phase, things like that. I need to be able to kind of feel around, know what I'm doing, just for my own safety. But anyway, the thing when you're forging with coal, whether it be anthracite, whether it be bituminous, whatever, you better have good ventilation. You don't want to be standing in a cloud of coal smoke every day. That can attack your nervous system and do a lot of damage. So that's something that you really have to keep in mind. Make sure you're ventilated good, which will be neat when we get to that part on the barn. I have a really big exhaust fan, and what we're going to be doing with that, it's going to come out the side of the barn. It's a commercial grade unit, belt driven, all that, with a real big squirrel cage on it. All I have to do is put a bearing in it, and we'll be good to go. But anyway, I'm going to build a big hood in there over top of the forge and kind of form like a big welding booth, because now in here tonight welding, I have a window open, I have the doors open, I've got some good ventilation, but you still have those fumes coming up in your face, and I don't really care for that, and I try to be careful with it. I hold my breath a lot when I'm welding, step back out of the cloud. I know that doesn't come across on camera very often, but a lot of manganese and stuff like that in your welding fluxes and the metals, and you're sucking that up. Sooner or later, those toxins are going to build up in your body. A lot of old welders that end up with lung problems. Now, I don't plan on doing a ton of welding, you know, but I want to be able to weld when I want to weld. So we will make sure that we have some really good ventilation, and I will be investing in one of those big floor fans so I can keep air moving behind me when I'm welding once we get into the big shop. So I know those were some concerns that some of you have voiced watching the channel, and believe me, I do think about those things. I think about them a lot. Last thing I want is to die young and leave my kids without a father. So anyway, when we come back to this tomorrow night, we're going to finish up around here. Hopefully, I'm hoping we have time to maybe start figuring out mounting the motor. I found a 115 volt motor that might be a little better. I'll show you. It'd be a little easier. Well, not easier, but at least for wiring purposes. A little 115 volt inducer motor, a little squirrel cage. But what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to make a shroud for this thing, and then I'm going to have to make it so we can mount it onto this pipe. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with that. This will move now. Funny thing about airflow. Now you see I don't have a lot of holes drilled in this thing. I'll give you a little lesson in how blowers work and squirrel cages and stuff like that. So say you take the panel off of your furnace and you push the little safety switch in and you run the motor. you're actually amping higher when you do that because you're moving more volume of air. When you have the doors on, your amp draws are lower, so the motor's not working as hard. So I could oversize this motor just fine with those small holes. It's just not going to move as much air. It's not like it's going to build up back pressure on it. I want to make sure that I have this, whatever I make for this or the other motor, I have to be able to restrict that down enough so that it's fairly close to the output that I'm putting out here. So that's something I have to think about. But I also want it adjustable because if I don't get enough airflow up through this thing, I'm going to drill some more holes and make some adjustments. And I know we're kind of getting into some long explanation here, but I think it's kind of needed if you're doing your own project like this. Now, there's a lot of good resources out there to learn how to do this. There's a lot of blacksmiths out there who've built these. There's a lot of welders. Search around if you're curious how to do this. Don't just do this based on my example because I'm a total newbie. I'm going based off of research, a couple things I've built in the past that have worked for me, and that's what we're going off of. But I'm really hoping that this thing will be the workhorse I want it to be, and I think it will be. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to check out the 3 channels. We've got Fall Line Ridge, Wrenches and Boards, and Small Workshop Guy this week. And their videos, you can find them in the playlist that will be attached to the end of the video. And check those guys out. They're doing some good stuff. Like I said, Fall Line Ridge, he's kind of going down the same path that I'm doing here with the sawmilling and the timber framing, things like that. He's learning all that, and it's kind of cool. I don't think he's gotten into much timber framing yet, but he's been doing a lot of milling. The Wrenches and Boards, there's a guy, he's just out there puttering, trying to learn all this stuff, and it's kind of neat to watch him because I enjoy watching other people learn it because as they learn, I learn. Even from people who are brand new at a lot of stuff, I'm always learning something. Anybody who tells you you can't learn from even a novice, they're full of it because you can pick up something useful from just about anybody, even if it's what not to do. But check Wrenches and Boards out. He's a really nice guy. The other one, Small Workshop Guy, like I said before, he has a tiny little shop, and he has some really good stuff on there on how to organize that shop and get the most out of your space. So anyway, that said, thank you for watching, everybody. Welcome to all the new viewers. We picked up about 900 in the last 3 weeks or so, so that is awesome. Thank you, folks, for coming along, and hope you like what you find here. I've had a lot of comments on from people that are non-regular viewers, some trolling going on, but as you get more views and your videos get out there more, that seems to be a side effect. All the dickheads come out of the woodwork. So anyway, have a good night, folks. I'll see you on the next one.